Welcome back to the Craft Parenting podcast about two Cincinnati craft beer lovers with a parenting problem. My name is Joe Ludwig, and with me is Mrs. Claus.
Ho, ho, ho.
And now it's my lovely wife and co-host, Caroline.
I mean, I'm basically Mrs. Claus, though. I have to do all the Christmas stuff.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So we are the Craft Parenting Podcast, the podcast about two Cincinnati craft beer lovers with a parenting problem. Our time is limited, so...
right now, that parenting problem is napping, and the reason why I am so exhausted right now.
Yeah. Stuff and things happened overnight that made us lose sleep.
And we don't need to get into details.
No, we do not. But we are going to be continuing our journey, our Beervent journey, specifically the higher gravity Beervent calendar journey. And we are going to be talking about day 18. If you don't want to know what Beervent is, if you want to know what higher gravity is, go back through the RSS feed, through the
YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel, and we have 19 other episodes dedicated to this. We've been posting every day.
Yep.
So we have plenty of content. It's best if you stumbled upon this. It's best if you go back to that first episode, which was published on December 1st. Mm-hmm. Without further ado, what is beer 18 of the higher gravity Beervent calendar?
It is Vedett Extra White, a Belgian-Style wit that is 4.7% ABV, and it is brewed and canned by Duvel Moortgat in Cooperstown, New York. So, which is confusing because it's a Belgian company, but it's brewed in New York. So I think they just have like a place that brews beer.
Well, doesn't Guinness brew in like Boston or something?
Possibly. So we did talk about these guys last year because we had the Duvel 6.66 beer last year.
Good.
Yeah. So this is those same guys.
I'm excited for this. So let's talk about the beer. You have some notes about it and about the brewery while I pour this.
So it's the winner of the Belgium category wheat beers on the World Beer Awards in 2021. So that's exciting. Do not adjust your screen. Vedett Extra White is meant to be cloudy. And while this highly refreshing Belgian white ale may be hard to see through, she is a beer you can enjoy with all your other senses. Revel in her refreshing citrus aromas with touches of coriander. Feel the fullness of her smooth, grainy texture, and savor the subtle sweetness of her slightly perfumed, honey-like finish. All that remains is to listen to the sound of contentment as you open the next bottle. Or can, because this is a can, but we only have one. So is this cannibalism? That was some very, like, people-y descriptive description.
Well, it's a bear, so if a bear eats a human, is that cannibalism?
The mascot is a polar bear. The taste should be fresh, subtle citrus-like, and spicy aromas. And the malts are pale barley malt and wheat malt. And the hops and spices are coriander and orange peel, Saz, Styrian Golding, and Hallertau Magnum. You should serve it at 3 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in American Freedom Units, but it's definitely cloudy. It's got a white head that's not super floofy.
Yeah, it's golden. It's like you said, cloudy. The head is basically gone at this point. There's like a little bit left.
That is a yummy wheat beer.
Wit beer.
Wit. Sorry, my bad.
Oh yeah. This reminds me of. Oh yeah, there's a lot going on in this. Mm-hmm. It's like a more complex version of like Cold Snap, which I drank a lot of Cold Snap.
Yeah.
For the bottles. Someone told me that Sam Adams had the best bottles for homebrew. I don't know if that's true, but
they haven't let us down yet. We
Yeah.
also haven't homebrewed in 2 years, but
Yeah. But I drank a lot of Cold Snap to get a lot of Sam Adams bottles.
yep.
You do the work when you homebrew. If you do it right, you do the work. You don't buy empty bottles.
I mean, you could buy empty bottles, but then why are you transporting all of that air? Just have it filled with beer. And then you can drink the beer while you're brewing your beer.
Yeah.
And by the time you drink all of that beer, you'll be ready to bottle your beer.
Yeah, so this is a complex beer. There's a lot of the spices that you mentioned, coriander, like a little bit of, I don't know if it's citrusy, but it's a little.
Yeah, it's a little juicy, but not like New England IPA juicy. It's just got some sweet.
You can kind of get it on the back end. Those spices.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little peppery, not as much as the one we had earlier.
Yeah. It's still good.
It's
very
clean. Good. It's refreshing. Yeah, I like it.
I do too. I want more.
I don't know what makes it extra white.
I don't either. They didn't really say.
Yeah.
But if I go to, oh my goodness, that lack of sleep is catching up with me. If I go to their Who We Are website.
Yeah, let's discuss who they are.
Yeah, so they've been around for 150 years. So over 4 generations have been brewing at Duvel, Moortgat. I don't remember how much we talked about the brewery itself last year. So we can just talk about this a little bit about the brewery and then more about the specific beer. So they were started in 1871, and at the time they were just one of 4,000 breweries active in Belgium. At the turn of the century, so that'd be at 1900.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to do some high fermentation beers, and they didn't have a lot of success with that. But they had a very loyal base, and they were able to make some beers well. And then it was actually semi-cool. In somewhere between 1918 and 1923, so during the First World War, they actually went over, or that'll be right after the First World War. Timelines.
1919, I think.
Yeah.
It
So
ended.
they went to Scotland, where he encountered a lot of resistance from local brewers because he was trying to get some of their yeast because he was not happy with the yeast that he was using. And eventually he was able to get his hands on a sample. And that yeast is from the same source. They still use that yeast today. So they may be Belgian, but they're using Scottish yeast. And then they actually changed their name in 1923. Or no, they launched Duvel in 1923.
Okay.
It was originally called Victory Ale. And then they described the beer as an echt Duvel, a real devil. Which was slightly controversial at the time because everybody was very Catholic. And it's like, why are you calling something the devil? As it should be. But
It should be what? Oh, you shouldn't call people the devil.
Yeah. Especially like that time. That was like a very, thing to do. But they changed their name in 1999 from Moortgat Brewery to Duvel Moortgat. So they actually changed their name in 1999 because the beer was so successful, and that's the beer that we had last year. Mm-hmm. That's the Bell's Pills. In 1945 is when they created this beer. Originally, it was one of the many export beers, but in 1965 it was given the name Vedett. And it was initially founded mainly in a number of local pubs around the brewery. And in 2003, they gave it its own sales team and site, which is why I had to super search to find what brewery this is actually tied to. Because it was just, here is the beer on the website. And that was it.
So is it owned by Duvel then?
Mm-hmm.
Or did they spin it off?
I'd say it's probably similar to like garage beer, where garage beer came from Braxton, but now it is its own thing that is super tied to Braxton.
I was actually gonna, kind of compare it. That's what it sounds like. You're right.
Yeah. So, and they've had lots of generations be involved. I'm assuming that they brew it in the States because it's a lot easier that way, if possible. I didn't read through all of this because there's a lot.
There's a lot of history.
Yeah, because, I mean, they've been around for over 200 years.
Yeah. Anything with, anything European, Germany, Belgium, the wineries in France, they all have probably a couple centuries worth of history if you go to the right place. There's not many new places. I'm sure there are new places that open, but most people, they stick to what they know. And what they know is, at this point, 100 plus years old.
Yeah. So in 2000,
the nature of it.
Yeah. In 2003 is when they opened up the American brewery. They increased their stake in Bellarmine, in Cooperstown. And then they started doing more stuff in the States. So, I mean, that makes it a lot easier for import stuff because you don't necessarily have to call it import.
Well, I mean, alcohol is something that is heavily regulated in the States. And like you said, it's probably a convenience thing. Probably a profit thing, too.
Yeah.
It's probably more profitable to, to brew it in the state versus getting taxed on it, importing it.
Yeah. Oh, and I misspoke. They've been around for over 150 years. Somehow I thought that we had made it 50 years farther than we had. 1870 to 2023 was somehow 200 years. My brain is not mathing right now.
Yeah.
That is my defense.
Yeah. What else do you want to say about this beer?
It's very tasty.
It's kind of
I'm going to finish it very fast.
Yeah, it's middle of the road. It's not very heavy. It's kind of light, but it's super flavorful.
Yeah, it'd be great in the summer. I mean, it's great now, too, because we have central heating. I'm a little cold, which is why I'm wearing this cape. Also, the cape came in the mail today, and I was like, I should wear this.
You have a whole dress dedicated to Santa.
I do now.
Yeah.
But no, I walked past Joe while I was wearing this to come downstairs. And then Joe came around the corner downstairs and he's like, "What are you wearing?" And then just bursts out and giggles. And I'm like, "I walked by you. You saw this."
I was a little busy doing stuff. I'm always doing things and stuff.
Hey, but are you making bread from scratch?
No.
With a bread machine that you stole from your father-in-law's garage?
He's very vocal about that.
He is. He is very. So we've made. So I commandeered a bread machine less than a week ago. I've been threatening to take it for a while, but now he's super not mobile, so he really can't do anything about it now anyway. And he's had the thing for like 6 months and hasn't touched it.
He's mobile.
Yeah.
He should be mobile. He had hip surgery.
So.
For the second time.
Yeah, so
in like 6 weeks.
It's ridiculous. He's got a long road to recovery ahead of him. But this bread machine's been sitting in his garage. And he keeps talking about, when he took it, I'm like, it's better off in my house than your house. Because you're not going to make bread with this. And he's like, I totally am. I got all these recipes. I'm going to make bread with it.
What recipes does he have?
I don't know. We have to find them.
He won't give them to you?
He doesn't know where he put them. He's pretty sure they're in the garage. But he can't super get into the garage without help. So I tried to find them. I didn't super dig through stuff, though, because I didn't want to die. On like a pile of stuff falling on top of me.
Oh, my God.
A little bit of an over-dramatization, but not entirely in some parts of that garage now.
You're not super wrong.
So I commandeered the bread machine on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Along with, or was that? Yeah. On Wednesday, I commandeered the bread machine and I started Googling recipes because there wasn't anything that came with the bread machine other than the original box that it came in. And so on Friday, I was like, hey, if you give me your father's recipes, I will give you a loaf of bread. And he's like, well, yeah, you can have that bread machine that's in the garage. I'm not doing anything with it. And I'm like, yeah, I took that thing on Wednesday. Like, I already have it. I just need the recipes. Because I can do generic recipes from the internet, or I can do your father's recipes.
Wait. He said that you could have it, and he's still complaining.
Yeah, he's still complaining that I took it before I asked him for permission. I ain't going to ask for his permission. It's just sitting. It's collecting dust in your garage. So he does not exactly know where the recipes are. He is very frustrated that we have not given him any bread yet. I have made 2 loaves of bread with this thing, though. So I had, within 48 hours of acquiring the bread machine, I acquired the ingredients that I was missing to actually make bread at home. And then less than 24 hours after that, I was baking a loaf of bread.
Yes.
And now I've made 2 loaves of bread. I made a regular loaf of bread just to kind of see if the thing worked and if I semi-knew what I was doing. And then a cinnamon loaf of bread that we could have thrown raisins in if we wanted to. And it's very tasty.
I don't quite like the raisins, but
yeah, I'm better off with it just being cinnamon bread. So, and my mom said my grandpa used to make himself 2 loaves of bread every week. So as long as I make 8 or less loaves of bread during the week, it's fine. Because that was 2 loaves of bread for one person. We have 4 people in our house. So I can make 4 times the bread and it's fine. But it's super cool. You just throw the ingredients in it. You're supposed to do it in a specific order, but I've been doing that, but I haven't been super concerned about it, that the yeast is not touching any liquids. And it's turned out fine.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to make a garlic bread next, probably.
Okay.
And then...
It doesn't take super long. It takes, 3 hours?
Yeah, so the standard loaf of bread was about 2 hours, and the sweet loaf of bread was 3.5 hours.
Yeah. So if you just make it without the machine, it could take a week, right?
Oh, no. It would still be about the same time.
Oh, really?
But it'd be a lot more manual. I'd be having to pull out my mixer and use my mixer for it. And then put it in and then let it rest and then put it in a roast pan.
Friendship bread.
Yes, sourdough. So I really want to get my hands on some sourdough starter again. And then I'd be crazy bread lady. But you don't like sourdough. But sourdough's my jam.
So why did that take so long? That took a month.
Because you're letting that ferment. So, or you're letting it do all the work. So with sourdough starter, it's active yeast that you have to keep alive. So you're giving it flour and you're giving it sugar, and then you're taking some of it away to make something with it, and then giving it more flour and more sugar so it expands, and then you can bake stuff with that. So it's
So can you make sourdough in the bread maker?
Yeah. But you need the yeast. You need the starter to do that.
It's a different yeast?
Yeah. So all those bags of frozen stuff that I had in the freezer that you kerpipped, that could have been bread. Now, granted, that was 3 years ago, so it's fine. But also partially it's fine. So I got to see where I can get my hands on some sourdough, and then I can make some fancy sourdough breads.
Okay, what else do you want to say about this beer? Let's wrap this up.
It's very tasty. It would go really good with some cinnamon bread.
Cinnamon bread. We could have brought the bread down here. I just don't want you eating. Nom, 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 nom.
We would have eaten the whole loaf. We had the first loaf that I made, 3/4 of it was gone in 20 minutes.
Well, I only had a slice.
There's a little bit left. You had some this morning.
Okay, I had a slice this morning and a slice yesterday, I guess.
Yeah. I've had like 3 slices. And they're thick boy slices because I need to figure out where my bread knife is. That'll make us thinner slices.
In the sink, I think.
So thank you for joining us on Craft Breadington. Or craft bread parenting.
Beer is very related to bread.
It is. I mean, it's a totally different kind of yeast,
Yeah.
but like the yeast is.
It smells like bread.
Yeah.
Like when I had, when I was just like around my dad growing up, and he was like, if he had a beer and I could smell the beer, to me it smelled like a stale pretzel.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like that's what I thought it smelled like. So, there's a lot of beers that have like a doughy taste to them or doughy smell to them. So it's related.
Yeah,
for sure. But we are the Craft Parenting Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. We are on all the social media platforms. Like, follow, subscribe. I'm at Craft Parenting Joe.
I am at
on
Caroline
Instagram.
Creates Crafts.
And we will be back tomorrow for day 19.
Yep.
So we will see you then.
Bye. Good job.